keeping the football pipeline going, that's important too. And one of the guys that makes sure that keeps going is Dan Hammerschmidt, the safeties coach for the Cowboys. And I know this, Coach, good morning.
Morning, Robert. Morning.
I know this is a crazy time. You got to kind of adapt. We had Coach Waz on yesterday, and we also had Joe Bob, and they were both talking about how they schedule in their day, time to watch opponent tape,
Yep,
time to recruit, do all those things, and you got to keep it going however you can.
no doubt, Robert. No doubt. It is crazy. I mean, that's for everybody. I appreciate just listening right there. Appreciate you saying everything about the local restaurants and the business owners, and we all need to help everybody out. And I know we got to be safe and everything, and clean and all that. We gotta help people. It's that going to have to close things down for a while. So we all got to get out and help that. So that was great to hear you say that. But football deal, it is. It's it's funny that a lot of my relatives, I think I've probably told you this before. Every time I go home in the summer, they all, man, what do you guys do in the spring? What do you guys do when football's over? So one good thing about college football is you have a lot to do still with the recruiting and the game planning. And I mean, we can game plan heck the whole season next year. But we're working on the first few games with Oregon States and Tulsa's and those kind of things. So there's still a lot to do, especially in recruiting. You can never do enough work in recruiting as far as cards and Twitters and edits and calls and all kinds of things. So we're able to stay busy. I know it's tough. It's no fun not coaching. We're getting ready to coach through virtual reality, hopefully through an app, and get things going and some meetings and things. But we'll see.
Well, and here's one of the reasons I reached out to Coach Gundy, and I reached out to the coaches in all the sports, and I said, I want my show. Certainly, we have to report on what's going on. Like I led the show today
Yeah,
with the International Olympic Committee has postponed the Tokyo Games this summer,
yeah,
and we had a couple of OSU athletes that were looking at being Olympians, and so that kind of brings it home a little bit.
yeah.
But
Kills them.
I told Coach Gundy, I said, I want to project toward eventually we're going to come out of this, and I want people to still think about football season. I want them to think about buying their tickets if they can, because we
Oh
know
yeah,
this is a tough economic time. But I wanted to do that, and he said, right on. We got to keep people engaged. And you mentioned recruiting. This is a really interesting time there because those kids aren't in school.
right.
They're hopefully being homeschooled, or they're maybe doing some stuff online. I don't know how the high schools are all handling it. But when you call them up, a lot of times you may be calling them up on their way to track practice or right after track practice, or they've got
Exactly.
something going. Now you catch those kids where you got their undivided attention, which can be, I guess, good and bad.
No doubt. It is funny because every time you text them, they got to call you nowadays. But every time you usually you text, hey, call me 6 p.m. tonight, after practice or whatever. Yes, sir. Okay, coach. When I'm out of lifting, I'll give you a buzz. And now it's are you available? You text them at 10 a.m. and they're, coach, you ready? they're ready to go. Talk on the phone. So, which is great for us. We got all day to I mean, you don't have 1,000 guys to talk to, but those 10 or 15 guys you're working on, or 20 guys, you can get a hold of them. That's for sure.
And you mentioned the team app. We didn't really get involved with Coach Waz and Joe Bob with that yesterday. They both actually had been watching Oregon State opponent tape, which I got to admit prompted me to go because Dave Hunziker and John and I, we all have the Exos app, and I
Oh
checked
yeah,
to see that mine was loaded. So I'm probably gonna start checking out a little opponent tape just for fun
yeah,
because that's what I like to do. But
exactly.
but yeah, I mean it is. Have you structured your day, or how do you go about it?
Well, I've been doing the same thing. Coach told us to get on the game plans last week since he kind of guessed we were gonna be out for a little bit and not be allowed to come back and had to quarantine and all that. So I got the whole Oregon State season done last year. There's not a whole lot to do, Robert, other than talk to recruits and run around and play catch with the kids every once in a while. But they only like playing catch with baseball, football for a few minutes, and then they're
Yeah.
jumping back inside. So I got Oregon State. I think I did 8 games, maybe not our game, but just trying to get the end of the season with the UCLA's, Utah's, Washington, Arizona States, and then that game at Oregon they played last year was Oregon got after them, so that's a good one to watch. But it's good, and you try to figure, you can dig into it a little bit deeper than you usually can because you got some time. You can pull out formations on, field position and what formations and things they like to throw their deep balls out of, which always, if you're a secondary coach, that's what you want to know. But, you can get some clues. You spend a little more time on clues, the guys coming back and splits and things like this. Some things that the PFF gives us during the season, but it's happening so fast. It's good to game plan in the off season if you have time. We try to do it usually while we're driving around recruiting in the hotels and things in May and June, but it's you're scrambling, man, trying to do other stuff. So,
how concerned are you that maybe the month of May, when like you were just mentioning, you do go out and get out and evaluate and see the recruits, the prospects? How concerned are you that may not happen? Because I know Coach Gundy, he right now doesn't think it will.
I don't think it'll happen either. I was just talking to a couple of coaches the other day, coming back from the airport, and Nebraska, they're sure it's not going to happen. I talked to a guy in Nebraska and a couple other guys. I can't remember who. They're in the Big 12. But,
you weren't talking to my
think,
buddy Ryan Held, were you?
No, Matt
Okay.
Lubick. How about Matt? Matt gets back into coaching. He jumps out of coaching for a year, and he's going to go retire at like 51, and couldn't stay away from it like most of us, and jump back in as the OC at Nebraska. So he's Sonny's son, so we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, I know Matt.
Yeah, Matt's a good, but he doesn't think so. Heck, he's sitting back in Fort Collins right now. Frost told all of them to take off and take care of the families, do their stuff. So he's battening down, but he doesn't think, But that's just one guy. It'll be interesting. They got all of us are listening to radio and things, but hopefully this new deal they're trying today up in New York City comes through and we can settle things down a little bit. But we'll see.
That would be great.
You did
have 3 days of spring football, and I was out there for at least part of it all 3 days. Your group is you've got some young pups that you're bringing up, but your group for the most part is pretty experienced. So much so that Jarek is moved over to corner.
Yeah.
Talk about what you saw from your safeties the first 3 days.
I am fired up, Robert. I got a really good room. I have in the past, I've had some really good rooms as far as, when I say good room, as far as not just great kids and everything, guys that just want to work and be good and are solid kids and out of the deal. But cause I've had that before with Stearns, Moncrief, Flowers, and those guys. But the key is having experience with guys that are, some all Big 12 players, and then mixed in with some solid guys, and then some young guys coming up behind them and pushing them. That's the key, I think, is the old Bobby Bowden deal, where you don't fear for your job, you're not going to push yourself and be, reach your potential. So that's huge. Kanine Williams and Flanagan and Jason Taylor, of course, started in the bowl game, and we moved. We had Tanner's playing the position Jarek moved from. We thought, Jarek played corner in high school, so with our situation at corner a little bit, we gave him we thought he'd probably be good out there. He's long and he's competitive and he's tough and he'll make plays. So that'll be a nice move. But we're going to try Thomas Harper inside at the nickel. Let him go after one of those positions because he's unbelievable quick and short area quicks and competitive and he's gonna. You'll see him the next couple of years. But I thought just a competition at the position and guys knowing what they're doing. You can see guys playing once they figure things out. And defense isn't easy as far as reaction and things and knowing everything. But now the guys are experienced. I think they're competing. We're seeing guys step up, make plays. Like I said, Taylor and Sterling and Harper and McAllister and even Kanine is running around. Kanine, he can't wait to put pads on. He's one of those guys who'll run through a wall. He's just waiting to go full scrimmage. So I'm fired up. We got good guys, and of course, still got Malcolm and all those guys. So I hope we get to this, baby. I hope everything calms down. It's exciting. So.
Well, and you mentioned Kanine. talk about a special teams dynamo. I mean, exactly what you're talking about. He can't wait to lay the wood on somebody,
Oh man,
and he gets after it. And that boy, I mean, I look at special teams, and I almost expect him to make the tackle every time.
I'm telling you, yeah, he is, and you know, he's one of those kids. He's just infectious. He's one of those kids you want to have on your team. Now he probably not the best athletically at anything. You know, he's good at everything, but he's not like, you know, Peel has unbelievable feet and Trey Sterling amazing ball skills and this and that. You know, and then Harper super fast, whatever. Everybody's got their deal, and you know you know, Hall of Famers have it all. But Kanayan, he's just, you love to have him on your, in the locker room, on your team. He's so high energy. He can't wait to hit people, bounce up, run around. He goes full speed every snap. I mean, he's got a mixture of that Stearns thing in him, but he's just fired up to be on the team. You know, which is, it's going to be interesting now with the transfer portal. I'm sure everybody's talking, you know, with the new deals going down. It's going to be hard to keep your special teams up without playing a bunch of starters on all of them, because you're going to have kids, I guess, transferring. Hopefully not, but hopefully, you know, transferring in and out. And those are your special teams kids. A lot of times, the kids that are backups or second or working their way to be starters. And so those guys like Kenai and Williams, Bryce Bayless last year, Kima did a great job. You know, they're just, those special teams gurus are the guys that are going to make your team, because they take 20 snaps off of Colby Harville Peel, so he can go be all Big 12 player. You know, otherwise he's got to be on kickoff, punt return. So, you know, special teams is overlooked. You got to have those Kenai Williams. He's ideal.
The other thing I was going to ask you about, because it was funny, in the locker room in Houston after the bowl game, you know, Coach Gundy gave a pretty good stirring post-game speech, and when I walked over, you know, Tanner had tears in his eyes, Tanner McAllister, and he looked at me and he said, "Mr. Allen?" I said, "Yeah, Tanner." He goes, "I'm moving to corner. I'm gonna be a corner next year." I said, "Okay, Tanner." You know, and he's standing
Yeah,
next to Jarek right there, and Jarek's like,
right.
"Yeah, okay, Tanner,
All
that's
right.
good. We're gonna need a corner." Well,
That sounds
in the
good.
meantime, the coaches get their heads together and say, "Okay, Jarek, you're going to be a corner, but it's okay because Tanner, you know,
Oh yeah.
he moves to that position." I'm trying to think what it's
We
called.
call it a strike.
It's
It's a
strike.
nickel.
It's
It's your
the kind
nickel.
of yeah,
It's a corner. You
yeah,
know,
it is.
it's there's three corners playing on the field nowadays. We've said that forever, and everybody, you know, it's, NFL plays with those guys are your valuable guys. I mean, not only do you have to cover all the same routes with more fields, but you gotta set the edge and blow things up and tackle well on the perimeter, which, you know, in college football is huge. So that nickel
That's the
position, we
safety
call it
part of
strike,
it.
is tough. It's the toughest position on the field, I think. I think every
Yeah.
other coach would, you know, probably on the defensive side of the field, the nickel in college football with the hashes and the wide field is a tough position. Tanner's doing a great job at that. He's unbelievable quick feet. He and Harper, you know, playing out there, and Tanner plays both. I mean, he plays rover and strike, which takes a lot. But he's a good player.
Yeah, and wrapping it up, I know I was because I covered him in high school at John Marshall. I was anxious to see. I didn't want anybody to get hurt. Certainly didn't want to see, you know, Colby Harvell Peel miss the bowl
No
game like
doubt.
he did. But I was anxious to see what Jason would do, and he answered the call. I mean, he's the player that I think, and is going to develop into the player I think we all hoped he would.
No doubt. I think he will. You know, I'm still, you know, as a coach, you know, he's one of those guys that he has all the potential in the world as far as God gave him the speed, the size, the athleticism, the ball skills. He explosive, big, fast. You know, he's smart. I mean, he's a great student too, and a great kid. He's got everything. Now he's just got to figure out the defense, speed up his play, and you know, turn on the aggression, which I think he did in the bowl game a little bit. He figured, well, hey man, you know, he's figuring that, hey, I'm ready to go at this level. So he has I mean, his ceiling is way up there. But I'm excited. As a Coach Gundy came in and said, hey man, I think Jason Taylor's going to have a chance if he gets any coaching this spring. I said, thanks, Coach.
Hey, I think we know better than that. That safety position has been really good for a long, long time,
I
and of
appreciate it, Robert.
course,
It's
yeah, you've
good
had a
kids,
big
that's for sure.
And you have. I mean, I look back. You talk about the Stearns and the Trey Flowers and all those guys that have come through
Yeah,
there and what they've meant, not
Ramon
just as
Richards even
players but
came in
as
there. Yeah,
leaders. Your guys
what's it?
tend to be good leaders.
Well, I mean, I've been lucky. Obviously, recruiting helps, and the safety position. So they have to be. I mean, those kids they can't be. People are looking at them all the time. They're the ones that show up. I mean, if they miss a play, so you're always preaching. You're always preaching, man. We got to be the best. You got to be the best leaders. You got to when people look at you, you know, because you miss a tackle, you miss a ball back there, it goes to the house. So they all know that. So they gotta have some swag, but they can't be jacking around off the field and doing this and that and being bad examples. I mean, I think it all starts there, and then it carries its way onto the field. So I have been lucky, and it carries on. The Moncriefs and the Stearns, Flowers, the
Yeah.
Richards, all those guys, different personalities, but they all were great kids and loved Oklahoma State and did everything off the field, on the field, and it carries on to these guys. I mean, I didn't know what Harville Peel was going to be. None of us did. And all of a sudden he shows up and he's just built to be a football player. None of us knew that, but he's a class kid too. He's solid family. Great on the field with the guys, leader, high energy on the field. He's great in the meeting room. So I was definitely lucky there. You're not 100%, but luckily we've been pretty good.
And I think some of that luck's been made and developed too. But Coach, we'll let you go, and appreciate your time. And hopefully we'll all be able to get back together here real soon and do some of those football things on the field.
No doubt, fired up. Everybody
I'll
be safe.
watch. I won't be doing any of them. I'll just watch.
I got you, Robert. We got a short area quickness back pedal drill, little cones. We can get you rolling.
Hey, I'm just trying. I'm just trying to walk the dog every day and get about
Hey,
30 to 45 minutes of good dog walking reps in. So
I know. I was the same way. I tried to go climb a mountain the other day up in northern Colorado. I used to be able to roll up and down that sucker pretty fast, and now I'm worried about falling off the side. I'm going so slow. Things have changed.
no kidding. Coach, take care, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it. Go
All
Pokes.
right, Dan Hammerschmidt, Cowboys safeties coach. We'll take a timeout. Tom Dorado joins us on the other side here on Triple Play Sports.